Long time no talk and no see, I feel like.
Yeah, I agree. It's been a while. Um yeah, I'm pretty good. Taking like a mid-season break right now. After a lot of travels from mid-Jan. Back at home
Yeah.
in Finland. Now just relaxing. How about you?
Nice. Yeah, just been, I don't know, I mean, just full steam ahead in work and trying to play tournaments. Last year I was playing like probably 3 out of 4 weekends. This year it's like maybe half the time or a little bit more than that. So um yeah, like it's been fun trying to find like a good balance, and I've enjoyed like testing rules and being a part of that process. I know some people haven't, but I found some enjoyment with it, and yeah, no, it's going well.
You're in New York now, right? You moved from Atlanta like end
Yes.
of last year.
Yeah, I was in Atlanta for 2 years after college, and I moved to New York in July last year, so it's almost been a year. And yeah, enjoying it a lot. It's expensive, but uh, making it, getting by, and yeah, I love the all the cuisine that's out here. Like the food scene is
Mhm.
ridiculously good. That's probably definitely my favorite part about it is just like trying like a bunch of new restaurants and stuff. I'm going to dinner with my friend after this at one of my favorite spots. So
Nice.
yeah, it'll be fun.
Where was you before Atlanta? Like you said you lived there for 2 years.
Yeah, I was in New York, like upstate New York, so away from the city. Atlanta was actually the first big city I lived in. I was living like in Ithaca. And I also spent some time in California too. I went to high school in Northern California. And I was also born in Northern California, but I lived most of my childhood in Ithaca. So I've been sort of back and forth a lot. But I'd say like the split is like 60% Ithaca, 30% California, and then like 10% Atlanta and New York City. So most of my life hasn't been in like big cities, but it's just been recently where I've lived in like Atlanta and New York.
Okay. Nice. Okay, so before Atlanta you was where exactly?
Or Atlanta, I was going to school at Binghamton University, which is like a small state school in upstate New York. So it's
Okay.
about like 3 hour, 3.5 hour drive from the city.
Is it near Long Island?
A little bit. New York City is definitely closer to Long Island. It's like probably 4 hours from Long Island. People wouldn't really go. There were actually a ton of Long Island students at my college. So most people would end up going to Stony Brook if you were in Long Island, because that's Long Island. But Binghamton was like maybe like half a step higher in terms of education. So you'd go to Stony Brook if you want to stay close to family, and you go to Binghamton if you wanted like a new experience, or you wanted to like um or maybe like your major was slightly better at Binghamton. Like there were a few options, but I had a couple friends that lived in Long Island.
Was it there like upstate New York in at college when you started playing at the start, like in the beginning?
Yeah. Kind of I guess like more seriously, like I got introduced to the sport um in high school when I was out in California. And at the time it was like only a beach sport for me. Like I never even played on grass.
Mhm.
So you can imagine like SIRS hadn't developed at all. Like people were, um, I don't know how much you've played beach spike, but it's a ton of fun. And so that was sort of the introduction of the sport to me. I met these like two guys that were like lefties and premier at the time in Santa Cruz, and they're called the Santa Cruz Slingers. And played against them. I think I lost like 21-5, like one of those games. And I was like, people serve like this is ridiculous. But they told me about the competitive scene and the Facebook group at the time, which has then slowly turned into like the Discord group. And so through Facebook, I found out a lot about competitive tournaments. And then I found out that where I was going to school was near one of the tournaments that at the time, I think it was like the East Regional. It was STS. And that was my first tournament that was STS was like maybe Boston 2018 or something like that.
Oh,
Um,
it's just to stop you off, like, a couple of thoughts went into my mind. The first one was how many experiences do you think you've now given to other people that you had by the guys in North California of oh shit, people serve like this?
Yeah, no, I hope a fair bit. I like it's fun because I I know that some people take it better than others. Like I was one of those people that like, I was just so much competitive spirit in me that when I get wrecked, it like motivates me a ton. So, I hope that like I can do that for some people and others like I've maybe discouraged them to keep playing. Like I don't really know. I think there's a big part of being someone that like practices a ton of serves. It's just it's tough when you're playing new players to hold back because I find it very hard, and this is just maybe like a pickup thing for me or a tournament thing for me. But I find it very hard to hold back in terms of my competitive play. Like I feel like when I'm not trying and I'm not trying to ace you, for example, it's fairly obvious, and then I feel bad because I can tell that like the other team wishes I was giving it their all. Like it's sort of a
Mhm.
a fine.
Unspoken language that's never talked about in
Yeah,
like, do you
like
want me to go serious? Do you want me to play fun? But if I play fun, you want the experience, but then yeah, but not just enough where you don't get absolutely smashed and discouraged.
exactly, and so usually I just end up teetering on the side of I will try my hardest, and then it's like, if you beat me, then it's like you'll feel good about yourself rather than if I'm trying to tap it on and whatnot, and you won't. But I think that's changed a lot with bigger ball, because I mean, just playing with a lot of great defensive players in the last few months. It's made it so that it really hurts me to double fault, right? And this has always been like a problem with the pro ball, in my opinion. But serve percentage is like one of the biggest issues, if not like the biggest issue. I'd say serve percentage along with rally percentage, right? And like those two things. So it's made just kind of looping back to like my point playing with someone who's really defensive minded and is that good at defense, it's so bad if I'm double faulting or they're double faulting. So tapping it on, playing more points, like it's kind of less of like a hey, I'm taking it easy on you now, and more of like this is the best chance for us to win this point.
I want to utilize my partner in that way that before wasn't going to be utilized with, yeah, old rules or small ball.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And with small ball, I mean the peak that I can get to with a serve is a lot higher. So it's
Yeah.
like I might as well just swing out for that and play the odds.
Yeah, I mean, we've touched on a few things there. I think I want to, before we get more maybe in detail and stuff like that, it'd be nicer to jump back on sort of your journey and how you sort of continued on the grind and what sort of motivated you on the way to starting and getting the humbling experience back in. I'm guessing it was 2018 or 17 in Northern California.
Yeah. So I mean, I've been humbled. Like I still get humbled. Even last weekend, I got wrecked by Thomas. So it happens all the time. Like I think because I've played so many tournaments and games, like even in the last 7 years since I started playing, I mean, I've been on both ends of it. I've encountered every score you could be at. I've been down 11-18. I've been up 18-5. Like there's every possible score you can imagine I've been in. And so I think that's helped me a lot with just getting experienced, and my mental is always strong now because I know, that anything can really happen in this sport. I think it takes a while for players to get to that point where they feel really comfortable. Like it took me 4 years to feel like I could be a great player. Um, it wasn't until like the last, 2 or 3 years where I've gained a lot of self-confidence. Like I always thought like I could do it maybe, but I didn't believe it. And I think it took a really long time. Like it took me getting wrecked countless times and practicing and putting in the work to uh, be able to see, it pay off.
Did I guess in the beginning and you was getting humbled and you had that like motivation and grind to continue. I assume the first experience that pushed you was the pickup or the games in Northern California. Was there other like big moments that stuck out to you? And we spoke to Ryan before, and Ryan getting beat or earning Premier. I think 2000, not earning Premier. Sorry, I think podium him. Oh my gosh, getting on the podium at the STS Championship in the Premier Division back in 2022, I think. Might have even been 21. No, I think 22, yeah. And then he said, it wasn't the pro division, it was the premier division. And he said, okay, look, next year I'm going to go and grind. And he grind pretty much the whole off season. Like that was a big moment for him. Um, what was sort of some big moments to stick out for you between that period of what it's 8 years now, right? Back to 2017.
Yeah, dang. I mean, so many. I think part of my journey has kind of been a very slow one. I think, I went from struggling to make Premier, probably playing three, four, maybe even five tournaments. I think it was five or even six tournaments, where I didn't qualify. I was getting bounced early in the bracket. Felt like at each one of these I was going to make Premier, right? Like you had the confidence to make it, but then you didn't get there. And once I eventually made Premier, I experienced every possible like slow journey within Premiere. Like I was going 1-3 in pool play, 0-4, 1-4, like every possible. Then I went to sometimes people will go like 1-3, 1-4. They'll not play a while and then they'll grind and they'll come back and then they'll be at the top, right? And they'll go like 4-0, 5-0. No, I just played every weekend and then eventually I would go from like 2-2 to 3-2 to 4-1. And eventually like I remember it was me and Justin back in 2022. It was like Profit Boost before we were Profit Boost. This was just tournaments we were playing together. And we played, it was a Philadelphia Challenger, I think. And we went like we finally went plus in pool play. We went 3-1 and we eventually, kind of got over the hump of like, okay, we can compete with the best teams. Like, let's do it. And I think that experience was sort of the first where I felt really comfortable playing people that I considered a lot better than me. And then getting wrecked in bracket, it was like, okay, I need to reset here. Like I can't just do well in the morning. Like I've always kind of been a pool play player. I needed to perform when it mattered most. And so I think a lot of my mindset has changed over the years. Like, oh, for a while, it was like I was so focused on putting myself in the best position to play well in bracket by having a great seed. But then I'd get stuck in these situations where I'd be like 1 seed, 2 seed, 3 seed, after years of playing in Premier, and I'd lose early in bracket or, late in bracket, wherever it was. And I always felt kind of that emptiness where it was like, okay, what really matters is I perform at the very end of the day. Like, I don't care of course, I care what happens in the morning, but you never remember the pool play game you lose. You remember how you finished the day. So, and I think that was really evident to kind of like pull it back to last year with Numb. Like we put ourselves in the best possible position that we could have been going into the championship. Like we were number one in points. We were the 1 seed. Even if you look at the pool play of the championship, we went 5-1 in pool play. We got the 1 seed in bracket. And what happened? We lost round of 16. And it was like, that was a big moment for me to just kind of really put it into perspective of like, this year it's not going to be about winning every tournament. It's about how do I perform and how do I get myself to be the best player I can be at the tournament that matters the most to me. And, there's not an STS championship anymore, so it's a bit different than years past, but I'm really focused on like nationals and which I guess is taking place of the US championship and then also Pan Am as well. So those two things are sort of like my main focus. And like, it's great to win these events along the way. Right. But I really want to get to the point where this doesn't matter as much right now. Like it matters how I play in 6-7 months from now. So that's kind of been my mindset and it's changed. Like last year, Pac and I were so caught up in like, we need to win each game, each tournament. And I think it puts so much pressure on yourself that you can have a lot of those moments where you just kind of like, it's too much.
Did you ever feel that doing so many tournaments as you've done over these last couple of years that you weren't able to put as much time or effort into your own game? Because like if there's something you wanted to fix, you only really could refine it. You never really could make big, big changes during the season with traveling every weekend. You just don't have the time to make those big shifts that was maybe you saw in your game and realized and was like, I'm gonna have to wait till the end of the season.
Yeah, it's a good question. I don't think playing tournaments has hurt me at all. Like I think the opposite's happened. I think playing lots of tournaments, for one, I didn't I didn't ever want not playing a tournament to hurt me. Like I was honestly worried about that, and maybe that's the wrong mindset. Like I think there's definitely aspects of rest that's important as well, right? And giving yourself like some time off from the sport and resting. But for the last 2 years, that wasn't really what I wanted to do. Like I was more worried that if I didn't fly out and play this, Southern California tournament while I was living in Atlanta, that I'd miss out on that day of getting better. And so I really wanted to take each tournament as like, this is a chance for me to get better. And as far as like specifics of my game that I could refine week to week and whatnot, like I think you see a lot of progress that you put in now months later, if that makes sense. Like
Mhm.
I can tweak something in my head and try to put together like how I can play better in this aspect of the game. And I can put in the work now, but you won't see the result like the following weekend. You really see the result compound on itself, and you have to have the patience for it, right? Like you have to be able to say like, I'm gonna come back and play, or I'm gonna come back and perform like this months from now. It's tough to have that patience, but a lot of the work that I've kind of put in has been around serving, right? And what I've noticed from serving specifically is that there's so many different styles and people have all these different ways to do it, right? And I've found that I've kind of tried every stance, every serve that there is at this point. And I feel like rotating and doing a lot of different serves has helped me find different confidence throughout the way. Like I've never just stuck to one thing and it's been my serve. Like I think I've had different points in my career where a certain serve was my best serve. Now there's been serves that stick out as like, that's the thing that I specialize in. But as far as stances go, like I'm always trying to mix it up. Um, I see that a lot with new players, and I know you probably have a question here, but like I see a lot with new players that they'll come in and they'll just kind of stick to one stance and they don't try new things. And it really halters your progress. You can't be afraid of playing tournaments and trying new things and seeing bad results. Like that's how you get better and how you know if it's a change you want to make.
Mm. Yeah, I think what you're touching on is more of just like a general coaching and philosophical point in life. Like if you're not open to change, then doing the same thing expecting different results is the definition of insanity, and it's that for a reason. And you're not going to get different results as a server, hitter, setter if you keep on doing the same shit and not expecting something different to happen. And yeah, I think it's quite evident to see from your videos over time. If anyone does this as well, you should be able to go back to an old highlight video 6 months ago, a year ago, 2 years ago, and be, damn, my serves were different. They're looking different, and you could be able to see either big or small differences in your form or in your contact or in your follow through. That again, they come as time and as you're refining things. Um, but what's interesting to me is like the level of which the serves and the detail is getting to now. I mean, I remember I was watching back some of your game analysis, and they're great, by the way. I recommend whoever is interested in getting into the mind of a pro player when they're playing to hear it. But just small things that I don't think people see with the naked eye, even if it's just a slight foot movement and faking to go one way and then step in the other. Either it's just pinning somebody and looking as if you're going to hit a left as you step out right. Thomas, I think, is one of the best at this and one of the first I saw do this, where he would pin you and fake the right as he steps out left. And if you didn't step, then he'd quickly trigger the left. And if you did step, then he would trigger the right. And it's with quite such quick trigger time, and like you said earlier, with such peak serves being so hard to receive, if you can hit that peak serve consistently, and demand such high level of footwork from the opposition, you're sort of at the mercy of players like Tom and like yourself now when you're able to master that, yeah, that motion, which again you probably didn't do 3 or 4 years ago. Like just those small refinements in clipping players. It's such a great thing to see and to analyze, like you've done on the videos.
I appreciate that. Yeah, I mean, I won't get too much into serving, but I will say, like, someone asked me recently, oh, do I look at the ball when I'm serving, or what am I looking at? I'm looking at the net. And I've found that I used to definitely do that. Like it was a big thing I was focused on, was like I have to have the right contact every time, right? But over the years, as I've just had more and more reps and been more comfortable, like I've found the most success recently with, like, every time I'm serving, I'm focused on the receiver. I'm paying attention to their subtle movements. Like, you might think a serve receiver is lining up at the same spot every time between like first and second serve, or one serving sequence to the next and each point. They're going to be lined up slightly different. And so paying attention to those details and knowing the angles that you have in your own repertoire really help out, from a serve to serve basis, because you can show them new looks. You can remember what you've done previously. Um, it's really like those small little, I mean, it's inches between winning and losing at times. So really being able to pay attention to that type of thing. Like I don't really focus on the ball or the net anymore. It's more about like, you know, for one, is the serve receiver better at side to side movement, or are they better with touch? Like, are they a quicker player, or are they better with their hands? And if they're better with their hands, I'm not going to rip it hard at them. I'm going to try to beat them wide with something that they can't reach. If they're better, with those quick movements, and they're able to go side to side, maybe their hands aren't as good. And I'm just going to try to rip it right at them. So there's a lot of like knowing who your serve receiver is and whatnot, which, yeah, I know we've talked a lot about serving here, but hopefully it's been insightful.
Yeah, no, definitely insightful. And if not, hey, people can just not listen. It's not.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
like we talk about what we like to talk about. And I mean, I think a lot of people like geeking out on such details. I don't think there's enough content or it's enough things talked about. I mean, in just in regards to what you're talking about there, I mean, there's so many things I don't think are discussed enough about serving, like having A, B, and C tier serves. Something I talked with Thomas about, I think over a year ago, of just like you can just hit a C tier serve that's a pretty good serve, but very consistent, won't ace top receivers, but doesn't need to if you're just trying to play someone who's not a great receiver. And then your A tier serve is going to be less consistent. They might be now hitting an instep cut. It's like requires more movement from you as a server, more variables, but has a harder level of footwork demanded for the receiver. And it's like, and it's what timing. And if you do a B tier serve and you miss it, it's like, oh, that's not a problem because I saw that if I did it, it would have aced them. And then you get to use that information for later. And
Yeah.
I like to always like put it back to the penalty taker versus goalkeeper in football, because obviously my background is football, and it's like a lot of the time the goal is so big and round it right now with such a small ball. If you do have, the corners in your repertoire, then it's just choosing the right corner at the right time, waiting for the goalie to make a move. Because not as if the goalie needs to make a move, but if they don't, if they go a fraction too late, they're done. If they go a fraction too early, they've now jumped off, the middle of the goal, and
Yep.
now it's an easy corner. So I think I know you think about that as well. From out of interest, what was your background before Roundnet? Like, what did you play?
Yeah. I've always played basketball. That's kind of been my main sport. Um, Tried a couple other things throughout my life. Like played like 1 year of football, didn't love it. Uh,
American football, I assume.
yeah, American football. I actually played 1 year of soccer,
Yeah, yeah, you're
football.
fine. Yeah.
Yeah, I played 1 year of European football when I was in like first or second grade. So I think I was one of those kids that like scored on their own goal. It was so I got
Knowingly or not
it.
knowingly? You was that like illusional, or you was just a bit of a clumsy boy?
Oh, I was clumsy. I mean, even today, like if you really like analyze my footwork, like it's not the best. So gotta gotta improve that. But
Um,
um yeah, no, I mainly play basketball and still try to sometimes these days, but definitely my main focus is like getting better at round net, becoming a better athlete, and yeah.
okay, yeah, no, that's fair. But, and just to know, because we didn't discuss it earlier, when did you officially get Premiere?
Got premiere in 2021, and I think it was like August 2021. It was actually the same tournament where Katie and Tripp got premiere, and this was like a Buffalo sanctioned event in upstate New York. Um, my partner, I don't know if you know who Dennis Joseph is. He's kind of retired now, but uh, he and I got Premier, and we lost to Alex Daly and Ryan Gross in the finals. We actually like didn't have like that many players that at that tournament. Like it kind of felt like a fake premiere. But the only reason why I was happy that I got at that tournament was we beat two like previous premier players in semis. So it felt like, okay, like at least we did something. But at the time they were giving out like three premier spots to like a 16 team tournament, like something ridiculous like that. But this was after, like I said, like I had lost like 4 or 5 tournaments, like getting first rounded every time. Um, yeah.
Okay. Did you feel like you deserved it? Like, did you feel you was ready to play Premier, or you said that
I
you were
felt like
already getting started with a lot of losses, so maybe you wasn't quite ready. I don't know.
yeah, no, I feel like you're ready when you get there, but being ready is like, it's all perspective, right? Like you're ready to get wrecked, that's for sure. Um,
Yeah. I sometimes think that it's not. Sometimes it would. It's like playing with a no hit zone when you can't even hit opposite with your weaker hand. It's like you maybe you should just practice doing stuff. If you're having rallies without the no hit zone, I don't think you need the no hit zone. Just will stunt your growth more than it will help it because you're now
no, exactly.
work plus form. But a little bit like if you fast track your way to pro, which a lot of people craving. But then once you get to pro, a lot of people end up then dropping off because they just find the next step too much of a jump. There's not that little jump ladder. Whereas, yeah, I think, don't know. That's always for certain people with certain mindsets, it will definitely be more beneficial to have that big jump and be like, damn, massive incentive to grind. For others, it will just be way too much, and it will be a result of them
Yeah.
probably stopping or not playing too much.
That's a good point because I think a lot of people like they'll get to premiere and they kind of accomplish their goal. And at the time, like that was my thought process. Like I wanted to make premiere, like it was kind of like that's all I wanted. But
Yeah.
after I played like a few more tournaments and had like those losses build up, it was like I can't end like this, right? Like I gotta like put myself on a better note or like leave myself off at a better note than that. So and I love, just playing a sport and getting better. Like I think what halted my growth so much, because I played probably 4 years before I got Premier. And what halted my growth so much was I didn't have a pickup group. Like I would play, and even when I was in college, drive like 5, 6 hours, maybe even like up to 8 hours at times to play these small tournaments. And, this was back in the day where like there was no high on serve. Like it was like it just
Oh
had to
yeah.
not be pocket, right? And like
Yeah.
there was one serve. You didn't get two serves, and there was no hit zone. I mean, there were all these like crazy rules. There's even the no carry on receive, which
Yeah.
you can't
Yeah.
even imagine anymore. But like imagine all the disagreements that you'd have where like you'd try to get a receive and it would like stick to your hand and someone would be like, carry, no, no.
Oh,
Uh,
I remember watching Texas tournaments and every other point being lip. Your lip, yeah, lip.
yeah, yeah.
I mean,
Uh,
it would be how I've been thinking about it recently. How funny would it be if we just did a throwback tournament where we did a 6 foot serving, no soft touch, no hit zone, a serving rule with the height being the top of the
yeah.
hips outreached. Um, I
It
mean,
would be terrible.
it'd
It
be
you think it's
horrific.
bad. Yeah, you think it's bad now. Like, oh my
Well,
God.
oh gosh.
Someone like Clapwick would come back and just beat everyone. Like, because he'd reach out and probably
He'd
ace.
hit it the other side of the partner.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It's I was yeah, I was thinking about like what if the like falling in wasn't a rule on serve anymore. Like you could fall in on serve, like you like dive in and like hit a
Oh
serve
my
from
God.
1 foot away from the net. Like that'd be a crazy rule too.
But 6 feet, that would be crazy. You'd basically just be doing like you could probably toss it high enough and jump far enough.
Yeah.
You could probably do a diving pull back towards yourself. You get people practicing that, grinding in the garage. Or maybe not garage, I don't know. They need some
Yeah, yeah.
or something put down to uh soften their landing. But yeah, it's funny to think about. It's like every time I put it into perspective for myself. I don't know how you are, Kieran, but like you always like try to quantify your progress, right? And the more we understand the sport, more you can start quantifying your process, whether it be serve consistency percentage, whether it be degrees on the widest distance between your left and right, whether it be the trigger time and you slow-mo your video down and you freeze frame it from point of toss to point of contact, whether you have a ray gun and you just see how fast your serves are going from one period to the other, whether you see how many times you're in system after your serve receive, right? There's ways we can quantify now that we
Yeah.
didn't quite think of a long time ago. And my point isn't with this is that I think we're still at the point where too many people get caught up in pro status or results. When I look back at round now, like 2016, 17, 18 era, they're playing these rules that we just discussed. And you just take any mid premier player, pro player right now into that era of 2017, 18, 19, and they would absolutely slap everybody like like ridiculously. Like imagine you back in 2016 now, 2017, and those guys who played against you on the beach. Imagine you played against them. They were like some of the best maybe in Northern California at the time.
Yeah.
It's just like the evolution has been incredible. And what gets me is that this evolution is like it's a journey. It's not like we're at the end of it. Like the next generation who have learned all that we've learned and know now, they're gonna be incredible. Because
Oh, they're gonna be so good. I mean, I think about it like, and the way I kind of think about the sport, right, is a lot of people, they don't have any incentive to get better, right? Like besides internal intrinsic motivation, like all these other sports, you're trying to reach a point where you can play it for your career, right? So
yep.
uh, there's no incentive other than just the love for the sport to play and to travel. And I guess you can, meet people, and that's a great part of the community as well. But you're not going to see the sport really take off until there's reason to train when you're young, like,
Yeah.
and I think
And
part,
just
yeah.
to add on to that, not just reasons to train as an athlete, but also reason to put in your time and energy as an adult who's maybe looking to do as a profession or a career, not as a player, but as a a podcaster or as a marketing guy for a an NGB or a board member of a club, etc., etc. We're going.
No, yeah, no, I was just continuing that. Like, you're not going to see like these top level athletes grind the sport and become the best players because, I mean, if you look at our sport right now, like we have some great athletes in it, but they're not the tippy top athletes that play other sports. And there's good reason for that, right? And like if you took like 10 of the best athletes and trained them with the current rule set within a few months, like they'd be some of the best in the world. And if you maybe not a few months, like that's a stretch. Like, of course, the touch you need, but
Mm.
you get what I mean, right? Like those
Yep.
players could eventually turn into players that are a lot better than the top of our sport right now. And I think this is, and maybe like can transition just my thoughts to like the no hit zone and expanding that because I know there's a lot of people that have mixed opinions about this. I'm still not convinced that we need it to be bigger or keep it the same. Like I think I have different opinions, but one argument for increasing it is if you had all these top athletes play in a bigger no hit zone, like you're you're not going to see the same level of restrictions that you see with the players that play the sport now, right? Like these shorter players that are complaining that it's really impacting them, like I think it's a bit selfish. Like you're not thinking big picture. The sport's not designed for you. The sport's designed to create the most exciting experience that we can. And like look at the NBA, right? Like someone who's 5 foot, like they're not going to play. Like they just won't be able to make it. I'm not saying we need to make it that way, but I'm just saying that there's people that can adjust and adapt to a bigger no hit zone better than some. And maybe it's more exciting with a bigger no hit zone and with, more potential for rallies, because I think like whether you like it or not, like the no hit zone does take away the big major wrap, right? The big pull, unless you want to dive over the net every time. And I think, there's injury risk and all that to be aware of as well. But yeah, I mean, I'm still not convinced we need the bigger net zone. I think, there's a whole separate discussion that could be had about that. But did just want to bring it to to that just because it's one that a lot of people are back and forth on right now.
Yeah, I think to touch on a couple of things you discussed there of like top athletes, they come in to round net. To touch on that, I just think right now we're in a position where I believe almost all or most of the sport has now been conceptualized. It wasn't conceptualized a few years ago. Like HTR, I think, did a good start with hitting and setting and other certain skills within the categories of receive and defense and serving. But I don't think we really baked the cake as to be. I think we just put a little bit of icing on the table. And I think now there's, with time, with more people coaching, with Buddy having his input, Fred having his input, yourself, myself, a fair few others who have contributed now to the sport being more conceptualized. I think now, in my opinion, the cake is pretty much baked in most topics. If people really want to like understand the concept behind defense or receive or serving, there's now so much content out there, most of it just open access free for everyone to watch, that people didn't have this again 2014, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22.
Yeah.
Um, and so there's definitely never a better time to join the sport than now. I remember saying that with Preston last year on the Unknown Depth of Roundnet podcast. But because that cake is now made, it really is an open playing field to like, hey, you want to become the best? You got an athletic background, you're 12, 13, 14, 15, 22, 23, 24 years old, and you got the time and you got the growth mindset. Hey, go get it. Whereas 2014, you could have spent 5 years doing overhand serves in your basement. You ain't as soon as somebody comes along, goes like side on from like a baseball bat stance and serving,
Yeah.
you're gonna get wrecked. But now, in my opinion, I think you'd agree is that most things have now been conceptualized. We're continuing to add a little bit of icing, but for me, the cake of the big five categories and round it is pretty much conceptualized, which is huge for the sport's evolution.
Yeah. You're right. And I think it's about like getting that content like seen by like the wider audience and trying to find like a place where it can be centralized, right? Because like even today, like I have a playlist of all like videos that I've seen where people talk through certain stuff, and I think that that helps to go back and watch and get different opinions. And but you know, having a place where everyone can go to look to, and maybe that's your favorite content creator like yourself, or maybe that's like a coach that you've reached out to or a different player that has given you feedback and whatnot. But I think being able to go and find all this different content out there, like you're gonna have to do a lot of work yourself to find it. Right now, it's not the easiest to find. Like even if I wanted to look up defense, right? Like there's 10 different videos of how to do it. You got to find all these different opinions and perspectives before you can put it into your own game. And I think it's great. Like I think a lot of people giving advice and working on the intricacies are what we need for the sport, because everyone has different perspectives. And yes, there's certain math elements to it as well, but it's a lot of like, you know, getting the experience yourself and playing as much as you can.
Yeah, I would. I know you sort of touched on it. I would caveat that and say that for me, there's just certain things that are just sort of fact and the language of the
Oh
sport.
yeah, the fact stuff for sure. I get what you mean.
Like, yeah, for me, like, there's just principles that are just there's no breaking. There's like you can manipulate principles, and we can talk about now manipulating principles to take advantage of a certain team that are constantly out of system or that are constantly now setting a certain landing zone. But like the principles,
Yeah, the math stuff, I get what you mean. That's been kind of solved by now. Yeah.
yeah. But that's where I think like that's the same as football. Football went through the same evolution, and then came along, and people came along like Pep Guardiola, where he introduced new formulas to football, and all soccer coaches started to then rethink the sport because new equations had been brought to light, and then they had to find new ways to find fixes to these new equations that they were being dealt with, and that's again evolution from a tactical perspective. And you could argue all football is soccer at the highest level is both teams trying to now perform the principles at the highest level of consistency while trying to manipulate the other based on certain principles that they are not focusing on as much as others. That
Yep.
that really is like sport in a nutshell. Like if you watch In System versus Eisenhower Seymour at Worlds, the team who follows the principles of the sport. Again, I say the principles, like I really do mean like the principles. Like Buddy has contributed to this. Preston, Fred, myself, like these principles are not like it's not my language. It really is just the language, and we're all contributing to this language together as coaches to try to make it as concise and as clear for future generations and us for players to understand.
Yeah.
And to grow. And I think that's a big thing. So when I do mention like the principles, I don't ever mean my principles. I mean like the principles of the sport, the same as football has the principles. And my point is that if you watch Eisen Simo versus In System at Worlds, the team that follows the principles of the sport at the highest level of success, they win the game. It's fact. Like those who have a good enough receive that demands the least amount of footwork for their partner while enough height to get in system, put away the ball at a high percentage than when they don't have a good landing zone or height threshold on their receive. The same thing about a defensive touch. The same thing about setting. The team that set the most times, that hit the height threshold and put it on a landing zone that was now demand the least amount of footwork while the most amount of options for the hitter, won the game. Like, and the only thing this rule package is doing, which is great, is emphasizing these principles and really, really, really rewarding you for actually being a balanced player and being conscious of the principles of the sport. The same way, I was conscious as a pro athlete in football. You had to be conscious of the principles. Your weight of pass mattered. Your touch, your distance of your touch into the space mattered. Whereas I look at it, and I don't know if you like this analogy. I usually like it a lot when I talk about the sport and like its problems. Is if you have a Game Boy game or you have code in a game, for years and years we had the coding problem where someone could literally set the ball with too much height. It went over the height threshold for the hitter. The hitter was standing, waiting, looking at the ball coming in. It also wasn't a great set. It was over the rim with limited range, and demanded not a massive amount of footwork. But what they got in return for a set that was too high and over the rim was basically a break in the coding. It was code that resulted in you could just spam B on your Game Boy and you'd win the point every time. It was like cutting in with Messi on FIFA 12 and just putting it in top corner with finesse shot with 3 bars of power.
Yeah.
You can't have that.
And what's crazy is people didn't even figure it out at the time, right? Like you look back and it's like, oh wow, like I could have just
done that.
swung it really hard.
Well, a lot of players did do this.
Yeah, a lot of players did, but like they didn't. I feel like it's kind of forced you with the boundary specifically to think about these extra difficult shots and like
100%.
the need for them, not just like the easy bailout.
Yeah, and you don't get the option of spamming B anymore on the Game Boy game. If the code is all fixed, you should have a game that is very enjoyable to play. And basically, the more optimal way you play, following like all the steps you should, just like when you're playing, even it's Flappy Birds or Flappy Golf, you know what I mean? And you're just like tapping, trying to get through the what is it called, like the green tubes. It's like you get the timing like perfect, everything. You're gonna go pretty far. This is like you on your premiere run. But like they're gonna get pretty far, and if any time you slip up, you will get punished. Well, people slipped up a lot of times, but they got bailed out by suddenly the green tubes would just disappear when certain sets were given. What? Like, it's a little bit crazy. And some people refuse to use those, freebies because they knew that was not the way the sport should work. They knew the code was broken. I have a good story for you. I played with Fred in 2022 and 2023 ETS London. And was going into the day, and I'm asking him. I said, Fred, anything particular you like we should focus on today, or anything you want to say going into the tournament? I'm expecting him to give me some gold dust. As he is a very analytical person and a great guy. And so I'm all ears. I'm waiting for his response. And he says to me, Scott, if you're ever in doubt, just set me on my right hand. And I said, what do you mean? Like, but what if like the defense are not rotated and they're just standing on your right hand? And he says, Scott, don't worry. If in doubt, just set it on my right hand. And I was like, Fred, where are you getting at with this? He said, Scott, even if they're in position on my right hand, I'm going to hit it through them or I'm going to hit it over them. And if I hit it over them, they are not ever going to touch it on the way up and they are never going to run it on the way down. So don't you worry about it. My heart sunk a little bit because I saw in that moment that he saw the broken code and he decided to manipulate it. And look, that's fine, no problem. Like that's what winners
You
do.
regretted playing with him immediately.
No, absolutely not. Just for that lesson alone, it was an incredible
Yeah,
experience.
yeah.
Um, to see someone who's that much of a competitor and goes, look, I see the game's a bit broke, but I'm only one guy. Am I really going to spend all this time to fix it, or am I going to try to manipulate the code and win? And he won the STS championship in 2022 doing just such a thing.
Yeah.
With his famous interview after of saying, or before the game, we're going to hit it harder. We're going to hit it. We're going to hit it harder than them. We're going to hit it further than them. And that's what they did, and that's what the game gives you when you don't play with the boundary or you play with a small ball, where it's possible to hit such speed on serves and also such distance on boom balls, where you can't touch on the way up, you can't run on the way down. Like, use it if you
Yeah.
have it.
And I think the boundary, is sort of a necessity at this point. But the bigger ball is needed. Like I'm at a point where I'm playing my last probably ever pro ball tournament this weekend. And I really mixed emotions about it. Like I want to just abuse serves and play this tournament and win, but I'm also like, this I've found a point where I feel very comfortable with bigger ball as the future of the sport. And it it's weird. Like I don't really feel super motivated to play pro ball anymore, even though I have this tournament, right? Like it's like I'm playing because it's important for Tyler and I's season, and we want to, get better and continue to keep playing and building chemistry. But like other than that, like it's not a big reason why I'm out there this weekend. So um, yeah, I don't know.
That shifted because you've had now more experience with different rule packages and bigger ball.
Yeah, like, and if there was one person that would want pro ball, like it would be me. Like my archetype of player, I'm not the quickest laterally. I hit wide serves that, you probably won't reach. And like with bigger ball, it's just it nerfs me a good bit. Like I don't think it nerfs me to the degree that will keep me from being at the top of the sport, but it's gonna make it that much harder. Every point is that much harder to win. You
Mhm.
can't, just get away with your old habits. And I think that's really important. Like I think, like you said about um not having just such an easy route to hitting and whatnot, right? Like with bigger ball, you have to hit the right shot. You have to be smart with the way that you treat the game, and like it's going to reward like bigger ball and boundary really rewards the smartest players, and I like that a lot.
Yeah, yeah, I think. I mean, I've watched your video from your MRA tournament. I recommend anyone who's listening to this go watch it as well. Because personally, it was one of the most enjoyable highlight videos I've ever watched. Like, I didn't.
Oh, I'm
9 minutes
glad.
went by. 9 minutes went by, and I didn't even realize 9 minutes went by. And that's a good sign of a highlight video. Because usually you watch the first couple of minutes, you see a couple of good serves, and you see one or two rallies, and you're like, yeah, I'm done.
Yeah,
It
yeah, yeah.
was
I'm glad
entertaining.
you enjoyed. It's funny. Before this, I was working on like the condensed games for it because uh, I think we had some rallies. Game two of finals, really, really good. Like you're gonna love that game. Game one, you're not gonna love. So
I've
I'll leave
heard
it at
about it. I've already heard about it from Emerson and Tom. They said that
yeah, yeah.
the new ball and people weren't as used to it. Tom was a little bit used to it more than Emerson and yourself, and there was quite a few aces.
Oh, there was a
Hard
lot.
touches.
I think Thomas had like 12 breaks or something, and
Mm,
maybe 10 of them on serves. So yeah, you'll see it. But
yep.
yeah, I'll probably post those later in the week.
Yeah, that would be cool. I'm sure a lot of people will be interested to watch it. I think your view on going back and playing with small ball and this coming weekend, you said, um, it's sort of the exact same feeling I've had since, if I'm honest, Worlds. Like after
Yeah.
Worlds, I was like, even during Worlds, like take away the opportunity to represent your nation and it be a big event for Roundnet. I had zero interest in playing. I had like hardly any rallies. It was all serve ball, boom it as far as you can. Even the final, I didn't really enjoy watching. Would I enjoy watching ES versus in system with big ball boundary? My God, yeah. I'd really,
Yeah,
I really,
sick.
I would watch so much more Roundnet if it was like that. And I think we're gonna look back in, I think honestly just a few months, maybe a year for a lot of people, and just be like, why did we not play with a boundary earlier? I think that's going to be one big one. And the second thing is, hopefully, if the big balls are big enough, or sorry, if the big balls are good enough from either of the manufacturers,
Yeah.
then if we do make that transition, then yeah, I also think a lot of people will say, damn, why didn't we move to this earlier? Which again is always hindsight's luck. But I think I played with a lot of big ball and boundary in November when we did the testing week in Jacksonville, Florida, and that's a big reasons why the MRA Midwest Roundnet Association went to big ball boundary this year, because we tested it. We did big and no hit zone. We did bounce. We did bounce plus a boundary. We did different size boundaries. We did big ball. We did normal, and it was very clear to us that bigger ball and boundary was just a fantastic mix. It took away the spamming of the B and the broken code of the boom ball, which was silly, and it also took away the absolute unattainable serves. Now,
Yeah.
we all want depth in serving. And I even watched your video and you still hit great serves, and it was about landing consistently and still cut reverses and trigger time. All those things are important. Actually, maybe even more important now, because
Yeah. Even
you
more.
can't just hit the same serve again and again. You really got to think about, how can I manipulate the receiver more than just, I'm just going to hit an absolute banger. It doesn't matter who the receiver is, which is, again, a good thing, in my opinion.
Yeah. Of
Um,
course.
but my point to all of that is that we did all of that because, again, it took away the unattainable hits, and it also took away the unattainable serves. We still need the depth. We still want the good hitting options, but you just got to take away the broken code. And I feel that by the end of this year, I hope more people will experience it and then see what they like for themselves as well, without being too advocate myself of too much, because I don't want to sway opinion. I want everyone to experience it themselves and see what they
Yeah.
feel,
You'll
including
be
myself.
the pioneers of creating the sport was that weekend in Tampa last year. You and Thomas and whoever else organized it. Like you guys shifted the direction, I think. And I wanted to be a part of it. I wanted to make it down there, but couldn't. So glad that you guys found such a great rule set.
Yeah, I am. I'm just really hoping that the manufacturers can do a great job and create a ball that's good enough to do it justice for the people who then experiment with it. I mean, I've had a lot of joy in test package A and B. I haven't played a lot yet, but I'll play next month in Paris, and then C and D are obviously unconfirmed. But I love the fact that we're changing and we're doing, like, so appreciative that we're doing these changes, because if it was just another year of normal rules, old rules, I personally, I wouldn't have much of a lust or dedication to play, and even less so to coach. I coach on a big basis because I believe so much in this sport's future, and by breaking it down the way I do, and the more people seeing the principles that Buddy and Fred, myself and other players have come up with, the more it makes sense to people, and then makes even more sense of how bad the game really was when you can do these negative things and get rewarded for it positively.
Yeah. I mean, if you don't see the benefit of big ball now, like I don't know what to tell you. Like that's it's right there, like it's too hard to hit. It's too easy to serve. Sorry, it's too easy to hit. It's too easy to serve with pro ball. You gotta change the sport.
Yeah, sometimes I put it back to people and say, I think the reverse rider hit on Fred when they was doing the LA or the California stuff. Like, Fred had perfect footwork. He stepped out as Ryder took a step. He shuffled like perfectly on time as soon as the ball left Ryder's tossing hand. Landed on the midpoint between the cut and reverse, and was still at like 7 feet. It wasn't like 9 or 10 feet out. So he was like a respectable distance. He dove and still could not touch, given his wingspan is maybe a little bit smaller, because he's not.
I hear what you mean. Yeah. Yeah.
Regardless, had you or I dove, we still would have not touched that ball. The point is that that is attainable, and that's attainable from someone who's only been playing like 3 years. Again, like we talked about earlier, the cake's been made. Wait until these kids who are 11, 12, 13, 14 maybe have more of a money incentive through the sport actually hitting a breakthrough in the coming years, and they're going to be hitting that level of serve 1 in 3. 1 in 3. And if you can do something unattainably, then it's broken code and it needs to be fixed. And we've seen this now already, and we need to sort of, again, fix it before we get these mini riders come in 2, 3, 4 years, maybe with more money.
now you're going to get like the top athletes, and what does that translate to, right?
Mhm.
It's exciting around that. That's what we want to see. I mean, that's a big reason why I played or decided to play the season with Tyler this year is I don't think there's many people better equipped for bigger ball boundary, whatever you want to call it. Maybe boundary he's nerfed a bit because he can rip it really far, but you know what I mean?
The
Like,
balanced gameplay in general, like you mean, yeah. From what that gives is a balanced gameplay, which is a state that rewards you for tapping the Flappy Bird at the right time every time.
yeah,
Yeah. And that's hopefully what you want as a spectator, as a player. You just want to get rewarded for doing good stuff. I mean,
yeah,
that's the way it should go. But I mean, a little bit on on the side note of that, as we build off and maybe end on some questions in a sec.
sure.
But a couple of things is the US scene has obviously changed quite a lot this year. You touched on it earlier that you was traveling constantly, and now you're not traveling as much. There's not as many major events, maybe nationals at the end of the year, and the Americas tournament in November in Argentina. But how does it feel like being inside the US right now and seeing a lot of top players not continue from last year? Like I haven't really seen too many, and also a lot of tournaments not too well attended, and maybe the balance of events not being maybe correct or optimal, we should say. Um, and the collaboration maybe being really put in the spotlight this year between everyone in the US because it's not been, again, it's maybe not as optimal as it could be. Like, what's your take on it, just from like a US resident, from someone who's played for several years and traveled to so many tournaments and have big tournaments always to look forward to every other weekend, for example?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to keep up the motivation from a competitive side of things. Like I think for a while, like that was so much of my motivation was, I lost to this player last time. Like I want to beat them this time. You don't really get those chances too often anymore. It's kind of just like, hey, let's just keep trying to grow the sport and get better myself. Like I think my motivation this year is mainly just staying in shape, growing the sport, and traveling and getting new experiences. And I think the scene changing, and you touched on like the event side of thing. Like I think we had too many tournaments this year. We had 6 regionals. We had, I think, like maybe 12 sectionals or something, and it's way too much. Like I'm not, trying to judge USAR for what they did. Like, they're trying their best. I just think that we knew the sport was going to be a bit smaller this year, given that the STS was going away. And I mean, I think even looking at like the pro scene and how points are distributed differently, like you can play one regional and probably make pro. Whereas that was never really a thing. Like you could play one regional, make quarters, and probably make pro. They expanded the pro division, which is weird, right? Like now we're in a small year and now it's 24 teams in pro rather than 16 at the end of the year. Um, I mean, if you get fourth at one of these regionals, like there's 6 regionals, you have 200 points from that. That's twice as many points as you're going to get from winning 2 or winning a sectional. So,
Yeah.
it's just it's a really weird balance. I mean, they made it individual player points this year too, which has never happened before. So now kind of it's just like, hey, you know, keep playing so you stay on top of your game, rather than keep playing so you're working towards something. Like there's not really something I'm working towards anymore. I'm just trying to stay as good as I can.
Which is why I guess you're someone who's still on the grind, still traveling, still playing, and and in the other side of the spectrum, we've seen a lot of players drop off because maybe they was pushing more for that external goal of winning or getting to the pro status at the championship, now nationals, or competing at the best and trying to be on stream, or to compete with the best each other every other weekend. There wasn't, yeah, maybe as much internal goal setting, which I guess the USAR have had to try to push for people to, hey, like the sport's in transition this year. Let's like focus on your own game, stay relevant, stay ready. But maybe if a lot of people, it was a decent, yeah, it was a decent period to say, okay, now's enough. I'm not ready to go for the next 3 or 4 years. If I'm not ready for the next 3 or 4 years, why am I going to give a whole year of transition when,
Yeah.
yeah, maybe time to call it a day
I
anyway.
think people just need to see the bigger picture, like this year is a strange one, maybe even next year as well. I think we can't just focus on like what the sport will look like in 2026. Like I know the IRF is doing a lot of like rule testing to get to the point where they can make a rule set for 2026. But who's to say we don't need more testing? Like I think um, it's really about like, okay, what does it look like 5 years from now, 10 years from now? Um, I've talked a lot about this like on my podcast and some other things as well, but like we're not at a place where we really are evaluating skill to the point where we understand player performance. We have a round net stats, right? And I spend a lot of my time focusing on stats. That's helped me grow and get better myself. But there's not like I think I want to see the sport play out to get to the point where stats are considered at the highest level, and it's not ready for that yet. Like we aren't there. So that's something I want to see as well in the future. But yeah, we're like I said, far away from that.
Yeah, again, there's like 1,001 things. Even if we're talking on a stat basis, I think I've said for a long time. Once the game's now conceptualized, which it is, you can now actually take better stats, and the stats can be way more in depth. You can actually say percentage of time in system as like quality of received, percentage of time in system. You can actually now quantify it. You can now say percentage of sets over the net. You can every time it goes over the rim or over the net, you can have a percentage and say 79% of over the net sets, right?
Yeah.
Because once now we quantify it, but the point is, even if we can quantify that and we have the stats, it's all great and good to have, but there's so many other things that need to come before that. That's like a small, very small domino, and the leading one is the gameplay. And the gameplay is the one we're fixing right now. And it's not to say that we will have the perfect rule set in 2026, because it's a constant battle of evolution, and one that we're prepared to take quite a big step back this year in order to really get in a better direction for the coming years. But I will say, and a bit maybe the optimism is that I do think the World Championship next year will be the best World Championship from a gameplay perspective, without doubt. Even if they test package A or B, it will be by far better than what we've already experienced. And
Oh yeah.
I hope and expect, or maybe not expect, again, I don't want to push my subjective opinion onto the massive too much. I want people to experience it. But if it is big ball and boundary, maybe with the inclusion of non-server can start where they want to allow people to get in system more often if they actually use it, which not everyone does, but that's another thing. If we have that, wow, like the amount of games I'd love to watch. I mean, I wouldn't even care if I'm not playing Worlds next year. I would go and watch so many games and love to see so many athletes play in that type of setting. Just like I was excited to watch you and Emerson play in the Midwest around at tour stop, because
Yeah.
it emphasized those skills that maybe you personally don't get as quite rewarded for as maybe you could or should, because a lot of people see the serving because serving is such a high percentage of the game. But now when you get put in a different gameplay where it's more balanced, how do you compete and how do you fare? You fared great because the amount of touches you had was great. The amount of times you guys were in system was great. Like it was so fun to watch, and we wouldn't if it was small ball we wouldn't have seen that. We would have just seen you acing a lot, and we would have saw
Yeah. It was
everything.
gotten some, crazy plays every now and then. Like that's the thing. Like, people saw with package A, like maybe rallies increased slightly, right? And it was like, okay, now I have one nice cool rally in the game. But one rally is not going to do anything for viewership or growing the sport or making it more exciting. Like you gotta add a lot more to that. So that's where I think like bigger ball is like the big, thing, right? Like
Yeah.
having bigger ball and boundary or having bigger ball and no boundary is a lot better than small ball and boundary, if that makes sense.
Agreed. Yeah, and again, not many too many people can relate to that because they haven't had the experience of playing with big ball and boundary yet. But I do agree that for me, and I think I've said this from the start, the three big things we need right now in the sport is big ball, boundary, and competence within defense.
Hmm.
Like we're like at the evolutionary stage of somewhat realizing that we can step out and serve on the evolutionary scale of serving. We was doing overhand serves for years and years, having awful body blocking form, never ever understanding what in system is, how to be in system, the details of like keying off range and time going through A to B, like zero understanding. And now, because I think the concept's out there, it's up to people just to now train it. And now you have the incentive to train it with a more balanced gameplay. we're going to see people now start elevating their defensive game the same way we saw serving elevate from 2020 to 2025. It's going to take a whole nother level. And that's what I'm excited for, because that progression is so much more enjoyable to watch than the serving.
Oh yeah. I
As much
mean,
as the serving progression is nice.
think about it as like a young player like watching the sport, right? Like
Yeah.
you right now, like the people that look like you look up to maybe like myself, right? Because of my serving, but like that shouldn't be what you look up to. Like you should be looking up to the top athletes, the best players at the best defenders, right? Like
Yeah,
this is
yeah.
what's
In
so
a sport that
exciting.
has such a level of attainment, or such level of athleticism that no other sport has, in such small time windows to do certain actions. That's
Yeah.
what people should be going.
The reality is it was easy to, or not easy, but like there's a certain level of ease that you can get to the top through serving. Whereas with defense, like you could be the best defender in the world, but if you didn't have a serve, you didn't have a chance.
Yeah.
Um, so now it's kind of shifted towards like you have a very good chance. And I think you know, being the best hitter now is more important than ever. It's not just about being the best defender, but like with all these nerfs to hitting and
Yep.
trying to make it harder, like that's becoming like the most important skill in round net. Whereas like if you looked at it 3 years ago, it was like everyone was like serving, serve receive, top two. Um, it's a little different now.
Yeah, which again is great. If you're a balanced player in a balanced gameplay, you're going to be entertaining to watch, and it's going to be rewarding to play, and yeah, for the sport to move forward in that way. I think it's best we you have any predictions? I know we've talked a little bit. We mainly talked about our predictions of big ball boundary being a good solution. Do you have any other predictions or thoughts for 2026 before we get into a couple of Q&A?
Well, this prediction could change, but I don't know if the U.S. is going to win Worlds in 2026. I want to be wrong. I think we can, of course, field a team that could do it. But the world's growing, and we've seen a lot of, I mean, even in this year, like how close Germany was. Um, I think we're going to see a lot of other countries take that next leap, especially once they start to play with whatever the rule set ends up being in 2026. Depending on how much the sport grows in the US next year, I'm hoping that we can get some older players back into the sport as well, just because like we have these new rules that will be exciting. And I mean, the US has a chance, but my prediction right now today is that we wouldn't win the championship if we tried to field a team. So yeah, hopefully that changes.
I mean, I think it'd be interesting to see what people think. I personally don't think that's too much of a hot take. It probably would align if I had a gun to my head and give predictions right now. I'd say the same. And it's more down to not the quality of players. I think the quality of players is forever getting closer, if not very similar, of the top European countries to the US. But what's the difference is, one, the structure of Europe right now, and two, the viewing of a sport, not a backyard game, and it being cool to actually be around an athlete. And in the US, it's still like sort of frowned upon, as if like you're taking this game too serious. Um, and three, personally, I'm just going to say it, I think there's still too much of an ego in the US. I think too many players think it's like they're self-right, and maybe there's a few US listeners who are not going to like me for saying it, but I don't, I just say I don't care. It's just my honest opinion, and I think the culture has been moving away from the US in recent years because of this shift, and because of the shift towards so competitiveness and so seriousness. That yeah, it's the community aspect that the sport is so like infamous for. It's moved out of the US, and I think that's gonna cost you in the long run. And I think it should be one of US's biggest priorities this year to bring it back, because the longer you have and going without it, the harder it's gonna do, or harder it's gonna be to bring it back. And I think Europe right now have a great mix of like sharing of information, grinding together, getting the nation like progressing, and having official trainings and clubs, and viewing it as a sport and improving it together. um I don't feel there's that same level of collaboration in the US, that may cost them next year for Worlds.
Yeah, we shall see. We'll be into to watch, of course. Hopefully, I can be there playing, but I guess TBD.
Do you as a side question, do you think losing Worlds next year, if it were to happen, would be a positive or negative thing for the US in the long run?
Well, I think it'd be positive. Like anytime you lose a tournament, you end up getting better from it.
All the
Probably
time.
more than
You're sort of speaking from your own mindset and your own
yeah. I
experience.
mean,
Not
this
always
is
the case.
yeah. I guess it's my perspective. But I think it'd be good for the U.S. because it make everyone take a step back and really think. How are we going to get better as a country? Um, like I think it's great that we've seen Roundnet elevate to a world stage, and yeah, we just hopefully we can get it done. But it's not going to be easy. It's going to be the hardest it's ever been. So just having that perspective, I think, is important.
Yeah, that's fair. All right, I think we'll end on a couple of quick, quick fire Q&A from those who put in some questions. A lot of them we talked about. A lot of them like prediction for new rules, opinions about bigger ball. Um, what was your opinion about Test Package A? We sort of touched on that as well. I guess the next question: rank your top servers of all time. So I guess top. Let's go top. Let's go top three. Keep it a little short. Top three.
Yeah.
Your top servers of all time.
And is this like, should I be saying when they were in their prime
Yeah, I think
best?
so.
Okay. So
Like their era as well. So it could even if it
their
were the mid
era.
serve back in 2018, but they were by far the best. Like it's still
Dang. That's
top
that's
server.
tough. I'm not gonna go back that far because I think even the best servers back then, like serving wasn't maybe like
That's true.
the main way to win. So I think I'll keep it pretty recent, and I'd say the best servers are, or that I've ever played against. Um, I have to rank it, huh? I can't just do like top three, no order, huh? Okay. I'll go. I'll go three. Grant Clapp. I mean, he won um a championship, being the best server in the tournament. Um, Freak obviously hits the most ridiculous wide angles that you can imagine. Um, and I'd go Thomas 2 and Ryan Marino 1. And I think it's hard because you could flip them both ways. But I give the slight edge to Ryan just based on the times that I've played him and the success that he's had against me. So individually, Ryan has had the better serving games when I played him over Thomas. Now, I've seen Thomas, and I've just had it this weekend happen to me, right? Where he can go on those runs that feel really hard to stop, as do any of these other three guys. But I feel like with Ryan, I felt the most out of my shoes, if you will. Whereas with Thomas, like he is more twitchy. Ryan, there's more peak, if you will. Like Thomas, he's going to hit it at you. It's going to be more towards you. Or Thomas is going to be more consistent and faster. Ryan, it's going to be really wide and spinnier. And I think personally, I struggle more with the spinniness of Ryan serves than I do with Thomas. Not that he can't do that as well, but that's my top three. And I also think shout out Jonathan Harder as well. I think if you're looking at pro ball servers, he could be very well the best server there is. Like I not that I'm gonna put Jonathan number one, but I do think that if you had like a tournament where serving was the only thing that mattered, Jonathan might be the best server ever. Like there's a very good argument for that. So yeah, that's my top four, if you will.
That's good. Yeah, it's funny. I've in disc golf tournaments events they have like mini games. They have like distant competitions and putting competitions. I see like mini games at Roundnet tournaments in the future being like serving competitions. You got to beat the goalie and you got to kick it through the little hole. It's going to be like cut serves reverses. Can you try and land it in this little hole or something in games? And yeah, that's just a thought when it comes to mind when you think of just the level of attainment and how spinny some of the serves are. I know Jonathan indoors basically looks like he's having just a fun with the he's just having a fun time with the ball, you know.
Makes me wish I played more indoor tournaments, but yeah.
Yeah. Um. All right, a few more. What are you striving? What are you striving for, or you aspire for in Roundnet, competitively and non-competitively?
Um, I think I touched a little bit on this, but like for me, I guess competitively, like I have done pretty much everything in the sport other than win the STS championship, which I can't do anymore. So I guess win nationals, which I have not done, and also win the individual of the world championship, right? Like those are kind of the two main things. Like I've won a major, I've won like over 10 pitchers. Like I want to win the biggest event where it matters most. So I think that is sort of my own personal goal. I didn't get the chance at Worlds last year. I was playing co-ed, so not that co-ed like doesn't matter, but I think it's important for me to play in men's. And next time, if I am on the Worlds team, like I'll make that pretty clear. And yeah, I mean, I think non-competitively, I just want to grow the sport as best as I can. Like I create all these highlight videos as much as I enjoy watching them myself. Like it's for all the fans, if you will, and people that enjoy content. Like at first it was like a way for me to introduce like new music to people. Like it was like, hey, like I'm making a video, here's some songs I like hope you like the vibe. And now it's sort of like hopefully people are learning some stuff from me and like finding some inspiration. Like I found so much inspiration through watching highlight videos back in my day when I was really bad. So um I hope that other people can kind of do that. And my goal is to just continue making them, right? Like I'm playing ten more tournaments this year. Like I'm going to make highlight videos for them all. And they're hopefully going to be exciting and I make some sick plays.
Mm-hmm. No, okay, fair. A couple of others we've already touched on. If you could choose the final rule set now, what would it be? I think we've sort of touched. Dream teammate against dream team.
Teammate against dream team.
I guess we're going for spectacle. We're going for like an unreal game around net. You can choose the whatever rule set you want. You say whatever rule set, but dream teammate against dream team, optimal rule set.
Wow, this would be pretty sweet. So I'd love to take down ES. That would be the team that I'd want to beat. Because of course they won the world championship most recently.
Mhm.
Uh, and my dream teammate would probably can I like do a prime player and then maybe like nowadays? So prime, it would be Clark Marshall in his prime.
Yeah, that
Um,
great answer.
I think nowadays, not to glaze him more, but I would probably do Ryan Marino and I'd give him another shot against ES. That would be my dream matchup.
Okay, that's good. I like it. I like it. And then last question, before we end the pod, favorite person or people to play with. Let's not do people because otherwise, like, oh, I know
Sure.
5 people, and it's like, oh, well, that's
Yeah, yeah.
so still one
Who's
person. Like, favorite person that you've liked to play with. Mixed. It can be men's. It can be, your dad. Like,
yeah.
someone you've had a great time playing with.
I think the answer is pretty easy for me. It's Pac. Um, he brings out like a type of energy that I didn't know existed in myself. Like I thought I was competitive. This guy's like next level, and it's just crazy the energy that he brings. Honestly, I was close to saying Emerson. I know we set on one, but this last tournament like was a ton of fun. I yelled some like more woos than I ever have. Yeah, but probably Pack. I mean, I just had such a great time playing with him last year. He is so up and down that it's like entertaining, and he's probably like my favorite player to watch in just like his dives and his hits and like his craziness that he plays with and the energy that he has. So, um, yeah, I mean, there there was one turn. I won't even get into the story, but yeah, there he just does some crazy shit. Um, yeah, part of my language, but.
You're good. All right, I like it. Um, I think for the sake of people listening, feel free to share it if you want to. We got a couple more minutes.
Yeah, I mean,
I mean,
I'm sure he
we're
won't.
here for the story.
I'm sure he won't really care. I knew I said it right when I said it. I had to say it right. So, um, there was an LA tournament last year where Pack took an Adderall before the tournament, and I was like, dude, like, why are you doing that? I mean, Pack and I have taken edibles before tournaments in the past because we found it kind of like relaxes us and whatnot. But we put or he tried Adderall on the tournament, and I was like, I don't know, that's a good idea, but sure, do whatever you want. This guy went ballistic. Like, if you look at the LA, I think it was like the yeah, it was like an STS LA tournament last year, numb highlight video. Pack in the first pool play game had like 14 aces against these Rochester guys, and he was hitting everything. Like, it was like I didn't even know what was going on. So that was probably one of the craziest like games or and tournaments that I played. Funny enough, like speaking of like being under the influence, um, the biggest tournament that I've won, the Richmond Major, Pack and I took 2 edibles at that tournament. We took one the morning of, and then one in the afternoon. And I remember at the tournament, we took an edible before pool play started, and we were warming up with in system. And I remember we were feeling really great, right? Like, it was like, all right, like, let's go into this, warm up. We got wrecked in pool play. It was like we couldn't score a point. We didn't know what was happening. We were like botching every set. We were like high out of our minds, just like hitting random things, like being absolute clowns. And going into pool play, like, it was like, okay, well, we saw each other at our worst. Like, that it doesn't get worse than that. And then funny enough, we ended up playing them in the finals later in the day. Um, we won it in 3, but we lost a game 21-7. It was like that. It was like that was the warm up. So that was sort of like a full circle moment. And I've kind of said since then that I'm not going to play on edibles. Just even though like I won, it was fun. I can't do it the same way. So um yeah.
Oh, that's a good story. That is funny. Yeah. To the days we talk about 5 or 10 years time when there will be testing and
Yeah, I'm getting cracked down. I'm nerfed.
the secret to all of Kieran's
Yeah, seriously. No, I mean, the reason why I think it helped me was like when I was grinding like last year in Atlanta, like before I moved to New York, because I grinded like, or I grind a lot less now than I did. When I was serving a ton, like I would have nights where I'd like take like 5 milligrams and go down to my basement and hit serves for 2 hours and just find like all these different ways to fine tune my serve. And like I was so focused on it. And like I feel like it put me back in that moment when I like, and then I'd play like a pickup on like 5 milligrams, and I'd feel sort of the feeling that I felt like when I was practicing. And then I'd gain confidence from that. And I'd be like, you know what, let me try it out at a tournament. But I've had just as many bad experiences as I had good experiences. So that's why I decided not to do it as much anymore.
No, no, yeah, good way to end. Yeah, in no way are we saying try it or do it, but thank you for
Yeah.
sharing the story. It was good story to share. Nice. I think that's a good way to conclude it. Kieran, we spoke for quite a while now. I appreciate you coming on and
Yeah, man. It's
having
been
a good
fun.
chat. Yeah. I guess give people a decent outro in where they can find your content on Instagram, on YouTube, your podcast. You shout out, and then we'll end it there.
Yeah, feel free to find me on YouTube's probably where I post most of my stuff, and Instagram. So Instagram is just Kieran, Kieran underscore Roundnet. And then YouTube, it's just Kieran Rose Roundnet. ROSE is my last name, and post like full highlight videos on YouTube, and then I'll post like reels and stuff on Instagram. Um, Doing lots of different content on YouTube these days. Like I've been doing like some condensed games, some film review, all sorts of stuff, like a podcast, like you said. So hopefully you find this entertaining.
Nice. All right. Cool. Thank you everybody for joining, and we'll catch you in the next one.
Thanks, Scott.